Hey everyone, it's Types, and today we're taking a look at some honestly pretty interesting decks here on PokeCard These are decks played in Japan, winning tournaments, winning gym battles. These aren't super big tournaments. This isn't, representative of the meta as a whole, really, but it is still something pretty cool to take a look at. And honestly, I'd say the main purpose of these types of decks are to provide inspiration for you as deck builders and players, things to try out, just fun ideas, and also maybe remind you of some decks you built as well. So I'd love to hear about those in the comment section. Looking at like weird fun decks is always super cool. And yeah, while you're down there, make sure you like and subscribe as well. I suppose I'll plug that. But regardless, let's just hop kind of right into things here. This first deck here is focused on Salazzle EX. I don't know if this is necessarily the most interactive by your opponent, or maybe it's too interactive, but it focuses around Salazzle. Also, let's see, I tried to record this like a minute ago and Limitless like wasn't really working very well. So anyways, I got PokemonCard.io as well here. I don't use this too much. But anyways, we got Salazzle EX. This one has its attack. Its first one like sets you up. It's honestly not terrible, but it's not super good either. But you have Dire Analysis, the main attack for for 2 fire, it does 100, which is not very good. But then your opponent's attack goes down burned and poison, and you switch this with one of your bench Pokemon. And this is paired with a handful of different Pokemon that are good partners for hit and run Pokemon. When I use the term hit and run, I'm using it to refer to Pokemon that are then like leave the active spot. Some people use it just referring to Pokemon that switch. I would also generally refer to it as Pokemon that also would like leave the board. Like I don't know. I'm trying to think of any that are like actually good. There's like an Emolga or something. I think. Let me check. Also, let's see. Is Limitless working? Okay, well it's working now. Kind of. But this Emolga goes back into your hand, so you have things like that. But anyways, we have some different Pokemon here. We have Fluttermane. Fluttermane's, played in standard a good amount. It's pretty good. Attacking like Vesely and stuff like that. Ability locking your opponent's active, which is definitely useful there. In some situations, obviously against Vesely, as I said, and different things. Making Kangaskhan, you can use it to trap a lot of the SEX and different things like that. We just see other poison support as well. We see the single price Peck Run, increasing the poison damage as a Pokemon you can send up. You also see the Stadium card, which is something jungle. Perilous Jungle. Yeah, I was gonna say it's either Perilous Jungle or Dangerous Jungle, and it's Perilous Jungle. Also, the Limitless Emolga page just loaded. You can't like see that, but it's being real slow today. So not sure what's going on with that. But yeah, you have that to do poison damage. I do want to mention with poison damage as well. One thing that's cool, we see like for example, Unfair Stamp this list. It only triggers if you're knocked out last turn. But again, it only triggers if you're knocked out during your opponent's last turn. And with poison, that's gonna be knocking out Pokemon between turns. So that's really useful, or like moderately useful against Unfair Stamp, Pheasant Tip to EX. And I guess anything else like that. Not sure what those other cards like that would be, but it is worth mentioning there. And yeah, honestly, it's kind of cool there. Then we also see Team Rocket's Arbok. Let's see if I just search Arbok, is it gonna like show me what I want? I guess it did. So this Pokemon, if it's in the active, I will mention it has an attack, but it's not usable in this list. So Spinning Tail, you can't use, but Potent Glare is honestly a really nasty ability. If it's in your active, your opponent can't play any Pokemon that has an ability from their hand, except for Team Rocket's Pokemon. I actually forgot that it had Team Rocket's Pokemon as an exception there. So against those like decks, it doesn't do anything. But obviously, you have the fact that you're like lock your opponent from playing lots of different Pokemon. You look at Drakeloak, you look at I'll just like Wikidori, Latias EX, Kangaskhan EX, Timasogre Pon EX, Fizzdip EX, Bealty EX, and so on. It like ability or like locks out a lot of Pokemon in the game. They can't play them. Your opponent cannot play them at all, unless they switch out your active, right? Which they can do, and obviously will be trying to do. That's very important. But when they are locked from playing a lot of these Pokemon, it might be hard for them to do. They can't knock out. They certainly can't Meowth EX there. So will they be able to do it? I don't know. So the big thing is if you use it later, which you're not using this turn one, there at one point was a way to get into play turn one. That's, as far as I'm aware, not possible to be able to get into play turn one and also get it into the active. But with Team Rock Starbuck, Team Rock Starbuck, you will be shutting them down if they haven't played those Pokemon. If they've already played the Pokemon they need to, if you for example go second against Dragon EX to get the turn two Drakecloaks, then you're looking at it and you're like, well, I can't really, lock them down there because they've already played the Drakecloaks. It's too late. So that's something that's definitely important to understand there. The deck does also run a two copies of Kecleon from, I don't even remember what set this is from. It's a weird card. Oh yeah, it's from Surging Sparks. This one has an attack that's I don't know. It's not great. It's not terrible though. But then you have this ability with your damage, you flip coin of heads, prevent that damage. So that's a good wall. But it is obviously situational based on coin flips. It is buddy by pop and searchable as well as searchable with all the other Pokemon search. So that's pretty nice there. It's not a crazy good card. It's not a card to play with too much because I don't really like these styles of cards, but it isn't terrible either. Definitely a solid like universal wall in this deck. Walling off. I mean, it's not walling off like Alexander, but it's walling off most things. So definitely pretty interesting there with these different walls. I think people know about some of these, but don't know about some of them as well. And we also like the Dunsparce as the engine there, and a pretty normal supporter package. Nothing certainly super crazy going on there. But we do see higher counts of Air Balloon to allow you to retreat there. Though I could see you getting switched, or sorry, getting stuck without the switch style cards. Then we have the next deck here. This is another deck with the Dunsparce. I don't know if I'd necessarily say the Dunsparce is, the best engine just in random decks, but it is interesting here paired with the new stadium called I don't remember legendary something. Is it like legendary summit? I think I don't know. It like means your colorless Pokemon, I believe, give up one less prize, which is actually pretty interesting there. This allows you to go ahead and I don't know, give up one less prize to your colorless Pokemon, which is like almost all your Pokemon. The Dunsparce has some synergy there, but I don't think your opponent's really going to be targeting your bench too much. But we do see that, and then we also see it paired with the T-Max Persian EX. T-Max Persian EX it's like so fun. Oh, I maybe shouldn't have just searched for Persian, but here's the card. So we got Holiday Order. This is the main one attack you're going to be using here, and it does for 2 colors, or the fun attack, I should say. For 2 colors, you reveal the top 10 cards of your opponent's deck, and then you may choose an attack from a Pokemon you find there uses this attack, and then you shuffle the cards back into their deck. It's copying cards from your opponent. It's definitely really cool. It's definitely not super good either, but it is really fun. I will say it's interesting the deck's not running Team Rock's energy. Maybe it's trying to use the second attack some as well. What it does is 140 and confusion. It's not super good, obviously, but it's something. You might be using it some. Ignition Energy is going to be a little bit better than Team Rock's Energy. It allows you to attack with the second attack, and it can be attached to other Pokemon, like Team Rock's Energy, which could only be attached to Team Rock's Pokemon. Ignition doesn't, do too much on a lot of random Pokemon, but it can be attached there. It's definitely a fun little deck there. The Crispin, I don't know if that's how I'd necessarily go about this deck. I'd probably not play that, just play the Special Energies. But, the deck's very cool here. Bouffalant definitely feels a little weird in my opinion. Bouffalant's reduce the damage you take, but you only reduce, where is the card? Here it is. So this card says if you have at least one other Bouffalant in play, which you will, all your basic colorless Pokemon take 6 less damage from attacks. So it's only protecting your basic colorless Pokemon, which you don't have too many of. I mean, you have some of, but I don't know. I feel like that's not your biggest issue there. I feel like you want to protect your like evolution. So that feels a little weird, but I mean, honestly, I think the deck is pretty fun, or at least Team Rocket's Persian EX is like super cool. It's not super good, but it is really cool. We got Mega Heracross EX. I honestly don't remember what this card does off the top of my head, or how to spell it apparently. Oh no. Let's see. Again, I usually use Limitless, which Pokemon Card Dio does some really cool stuff as well. But anyways, where is Mega Heracross? Here it is. It's at the bottom, which makes sense. So you do for 3, you do 170 mil 2, but that's pretty hard to set up. And then for 2, you do 100, but if you were damaged last turn, you do that much more damage. This is cool. If you get one shot, that's bad. You do have some like disruption stuff. You also have healing, and we do have the item card Yumi Onigiri. Yumi Onigiri says that if you it heals 30 for each Yumi Onigiri in your discard. Plus itself there. So it's going to be healing between 30 and 120 damage there, which is pretty interesting. Honestly, I think it's not a terrible card. I don't think it's like a super good card, but in terms of like tanky decks, it is interesting. Mega Heracross, I do think is unfortunately very bad because, I mean, right? It like needs to take damage. You kind of need to like heal it like a bunch for it to actually be kind of worthwhile. So I'd say you look at like Monkey Dory. Monkey Dory is okay, but it doesn't heal that much. You do a little extra damage, which is cool. You look at like ways to boost your HP. I mean, I guess Hero Escape is good, but that's a tool that is somewhat vulnerable, and also it's obviously one of theirs. So definitely a pretty interesting deck here. I don't know if this one is no one I necessarily be looking to play, but it is interesting there. I do have the trio, or for Pokemon Now with Enamorus, which is it like the Weather Trio? Is that their name? I don't remember. I remember I asked this in a previous video. Someone commented. I remembered it for a few videos, then have forgotten it again. But anyways, these Pokemon, pretty much what they do is they attack for cheaper if you have all of them in play. The Enamorus is the main one, doing two. What's it do? Is this card even like here? I don't know if Enamorus actually is here. Yeah, no, it's not. Okay, I want to go to Pokemon Proxies then. Let's just go there. Enamorus here. Okay, it does 200 to an EX for 2 Psychic if you have all of them in play. There are some other like tech options which are okay as well, and then there's also I don't know. That's mostly it, right? So the deck's not super good, unfortunately. I really do wish it was a little bit better. It kind of reminds me of the Reggie deck of the expansion Astral Radiance in the Sword and Shield era. Obviously, that was quite a while ago at this point. That deck was fun, similar, and indecent as well. Not a super good deck. Not a terrible deck though. When you look at like good single price decks now, I'd say it was probably at a similar level, maybe even a little bit better than some of the better single price decks now. This new deck is not. It's pretty bad, but it is kind of fun. Powering it up is clunky. The way this deck is doing things, the support lineup is pretty interesting. It's a petrol-based deck. I really don't like, I've said this in the past, petrol-based decks or I guess trolley petrol-based decks. I don't know, petrol-based decks in general aren't super good. The reason for this is because after you've used your like ace spec, like your precious trolley, Team Rock Special doesn't do too much. With Mega Excadrill, it's okay because once you're set up, you're in a pretty good position. But in terms of playing your cards from hand, honestly, you're not doing too much from that point on. From the really any turn after you've done the precious trolley there, or like the setting up your board there. Turn 1 again, because turn 2, yes, you still are quote setting up, but you have Genesect there. And I think with a deck like this where gonna struggle with your engine, you don't really have an engine, which is pretty rough for any deck, but certainly a deck that it requires a lot of pieces, or a good chunk of pieces. Even once you're already kind of set up, you still need to get more pieces somewhat repeatedly. So it's just kind of clunky there. In terms of one shot like Dragapult, you need Lilies there, so the deck's not super good. I think there's 2 builds of it as well. There's one later on I probably won't talk too much about. I don't think there's a super good way to build the deck, but it is an interesting deck and a fun deck. At some point I'll probably do like a tier list or breakdown of the set in full. And this is definitely one of the 2 fun decks. The other one being Bug Out. Honestly, I think Mega Rayquaza is closer to that tier than people might like to admit. The big difference with Mega Rayquaza and these other decks is Mega Rayquaza has amazing pieces around it. These other decks don't, which is definitely meaningful in terms of the cards themselves. The Mega Rayquaza isn't all that, but that's not for today's video. Next up we got here. This one's not like too crazy. I don't think it runs any new cards unless I'm missing anything. But it's Bronzong. Bronzong actually is like super annoying, I'm not gonna lie. This one evolution locks your opponent if like you attack with it. So you can't play any evolutions from their hand. There are some way, or I don't know, I think there were some ways around. There was like TM Evo pre-rotation, which I remember was pretty meaningful. But there aren't really too many ways around it now. It legitimately can just kind of win you the game on the spot in some situations. Only some, though. But New Bronzong, you Mega Lopunny as a solid attacker here. And then you also see it running the Dusknoir package. It uses Telepathic Psychic Energy pretty well as well, which is cool. And then it also runs Mega Kangaskhan, which synergizes pretty well with Mega Lopunny there. And it's running pretty normal stuff outside of that. Honestly, not too crazy of a deck or anything like that. Probably the least rogue of the decks we're talking about today. But Mega Lopunny isn't this like crazy meta deck. And then obviously parent like Bronzong, I think you see even less there. So definitely a bit interesting, and Bronzong is a card that if you're not familiar, I guess I'll pull it up to show you exactly what it does. You can attack with it turn 1, going second as well through the use of Salvatore. That's not usually something that's super good. I mean, Salvatore isn't super good, but Bronzong is okay and pretty annoying as well. We see a Mega Dragonite with Komodo, is that the Pokemon? I always forget. Oops, that's my members. Shout out to you, I guess. That's not what I had to click on, though. But Komodo, yeah, I always forget the name of the different Pokemon here. The line, was it Jangmo-o, and Hakamoa was the stage 1. Regardless, Komodo here has ability. You can look at the top 6, attaching a number of basic energy. You find that to your Dragon Pokemon, anyway, you like shuffle the other cards back into your deck. This allows you to accelerate energy to Dragon Pokemon. Obviously, you pair this with the Mega Dragonite, which does big damage, and the Dragonair also allows you to kind of set up a little better. And it's paired with Kyurem. Side note, if you don't know what Kyurem does, there's 110 to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. It attacks for 5, which is 2 water, 2 metal, and a colorless. But if your opponent has a colorless's tenacity in the discard, you attack for 1 colorless, which is actually like really funny. Side note, if you're playing against a deck with Kyurem, really try not to play colorless's tenacity down. It's pretty bad because then your opponent's going to be able to attack with Trifrost super easily. And I mean, I guess if you have Shaman, Trifrost isn't that good, but it's not that bad either, to be honest. 1 colorless, 110. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. I mean, it's like better than Fan Rotom, which is definitely all right. So not as a main attacker, but is like a turn 1 going second option there. So anyways, long story short, don't colorless against Kyurem. You probably don't have Shaman anyways, and if you don't, it's like super bad. You're like definitely gonna lose. So anyways, figured I'd mention that there. It was really interesting you're powering up Kyurem in this deck, or trying to at least. It definitely seems a little bit hard, right? When I say a little bit, I mean it seems pretty hard. We do see another trolley list as well. Again, obviously, as I said, not a huge fan of that. These like trolley petrol builds. I will mention with Team Rocket's factory that gives you a little more draw as the game goes on, but yeah, I mean, it is still running 4 lilies, though. Obviously, if you kind of look at it as from the standpoint of, I'm getting like extra stuff on top of lilies, the deck space can become a bit much, but you certainly playing Team Rocket's Petrol is better than no supporter, but that doesn't mean it's a particularly good supporter as the game goes on. Maybe at some point I'll make a video on like supporters in general. I've done that a few times in the past, but I guess subscribe if you want to see that and comment that as well. Then we see this next deck here. This is interesting. This is a Sylveon deck. Sylveon is very similar to Crustle if you're familiar. It just walls EXs. You see the relatively new supporter, just Synth, from the expansion Paradox. Perfect Order. You heal 150 from one of your Psychic Pokemon. It's not super good, but it's not too terrible either. You can heal from your Sylveon. Presumably you won't heal 150 damage. You could technically with Hero's Cape, but it is an interesting card. And we also see the single prize Pheasantipity walling some stuff on a coin flip. And we also see maybe like Diamond, like Monkey Dory, Team Rockets, Articuno, whatever, Psyduck. But we do see Espeon EX as well. Espeon EX is that the Devolution one? I misspelled that. So Espeon EX here has its attack. Psych Out, will just kind of mess with your opponent's hand a little bit, but it's not that good. And then Amazez, I guess is a rock or something, because they're all rocks, but I'm not familiar with it. But yeah, you devolve each of your opponent's Pokemon, and yeah, then you shuffle them into their deck, which is kind of fun. Oh, you can't attack with that. So it's just for the first attack, getting rid of random cards to your opponent's hand. I don't know. Probably not worth it, but it does have a bunch of HP, and you can heal up as well. So pretty interesting there. Not super good, but interesting. Then we see this deck. This deck is one I played a little bit. It's pretty cool. It's not super good, but this is Tirtouga Relicanth. The Relicanth does 10 more for each of your benched fossils. You have a Fossil Quarry to search for 2 fossils, put them onto your bench, which is good, legitimately. Fossil Quarry is a good card. Then you have Tirtouga as well, which is interesting. Tirtouga is a card that allows you to, just do damage based on your items in your opponent's discard pile. You don't have any base damage, so you do 30 for each item there, which is pretty good, to be honest. Not broken, but I mean, honestly, there are times when it can be broken. It really depends how many items your opponent's playing. I mean, realistically, they're playing a handful to set up in the early game. They can hold back, but even if they don't hold back, or if they do, it doesn't change it too much, to be honest. Maybe 90 damage. I mean, 90 damage is pretty substantial, but you're probably looking at actually a range similar to that, somewhere in the realm of 90, maybe 60 to 120, maybe 150, which is not terrible for a single prize stage 1. It is a fossil evolution, but you do a fossil query. It's not amazing. There are times when it is legitimately amazing if your opponent just like has so many items, and there are ways to get rid of items in your opponent's hand. I mean, you have Airy, right? Airy is like a card that is potentially worth running, and you are single prizes. You can use Brave Bangle as well, and it is good in the deck. But I know definitely a fun deck. Definitely not a super good deck. A deck I think has some potential. A deck I haven't really seen too much talk about either, which I think it's a little underrated, but also not super good there. Then we see Azumarill EX. This is kind of fun, paired with the Mega, what is it, Floette EX. So essentially you accelerate Psychic Energy onto your board, then like move it to Azumarill EX to its ability. I'm not going to dive into this too much here either, but it is pretty interesting. Mega Floette EX gets a bunch of energy on your board. If you already have a little bit of energy on your board, Smoochum's a card that's played Summon Slowking. Definitely fun though. Azumarill EX is a cool card, I guess, but I mean, it just simply does damage based on Psychic Energy. Its ability, moving energy around, is cool. I mean, same thing with like, Dugong. When I say you very well may not know, because Dugong doesn't really see play at all. It's a cool card, but it's not played, and it's not super good either because it just doesn't have the partners. It's the same thing as Armouge, essentially, exactly. I mean, it's even closer to Quagsire there from Dragon Majesty, I believe. But again, with cards like this, you're looking at the partners, and you just don't quite have the right partners there. And Azumarill, actually, its damage isn't super good though. This one moves energy very specifically to itself, so not a super powerful card by any means, but it is fun. And Mega Floette EX, same idea. It is a Mega with super low HP with the Stadium card. It definitely becomes okay. It definitely doesn't become amazing because it requires you to play like 2 Stadiums, but it is fun. So I figure it's kind of worth a mention here, though it's not played in this deck. Then we see Kingambit. Kingambit's honestly a card I kind of forget about. It's from, I almost said Obsidian Flame. Clearly, it's not. I don't know. It's like Charizard from Obsidian Flame, I think. I don't. Yeah, I like legitimately completely forget the set it's from. It's from apparently Ascended Heroes. It's its first printing, actually. Okay. So you do 30 more for each prize you would taken to your opponent's active Pokemon, and then do 180, 50 to yourself for 2 metal. This is actually, if you're familiar with Charizard EX from pre-rotation, literally the same exact amount of damage you're doing for the same energy, except Charizard EX was essentially free because it accelerated to itself. So Kingambit, you're accelerating to yourself using the supporter card that I'm blanking on the name of off the top of my head. The Philippe, yeah, that accelerates the metal energy there. Definitely a fun little card. Definitely not a broken card or anything like that. It's a little slow, kind of like Rose Encouragement, to be honest, just a bit of a slow card quite often. But, definitely a card that is kind of getting your energy onto the board. We also see New Upper Energy, and then we also see it paired with Dusknoir, which Dusknoir obviously, when you knock yourself out, that increases the damage you do, and you also do the Dusknoir thing as well, which is also good. So overall, kind of cool there. Obviously a little clunky, requiring like a supporter to get powered up, as well as a stage 2 as your main attacker. That's a single fires as well, so legitimately a bunch of downsides, but it is interesting. Also see, what you say, Relicanth, what do the previous evolutions do? I guess I gotta look at these now. Pawniard does. What Pawniard is this? It's this one, oh, which traps Pokemon. That's kind of interesting there. I assume that's what it's there for. Then the Sharp. I don't think that one's doing anything too crazy, but I suppose I'll take a look. Which one is it? It's this one. Yeah, I can do some damage. You can draw some cards as well. Not terrible by any means. Certainly not amazing either. But you can, boost your damage there as well, which is definitely meaningful. Obviously, doing extra damage is, I mean, it's good. And if you're doing enough damage, you can knock out. You also get some cards. That's also cool. Relicanth is just a super fun card, not a super good card, but a super fun card. We've seen cards like in the past, and they're always super cool there. We also see the new supporter Zinnias. I don't even remember what Zinnias does, to be honest. I always forget it. Oh yeah, you switch your active on your bench, then you move energy from the old active to the new active. Honestly, like, super bad. I'm not gonna lie. I think this card's like hot trash, but yeah. And then we have this next deck here. This one's pretty interesting. Wait, what are the other decks? Okay, we'll get to these. Actually, I'll quickly go over these, and then I'll come back to this Frostless one at the very end. But we got another Enamorus deck. Not really anything to say about this. We talked about it before. This is Dusknoir Frillish deck. Mega Kangaskhan. Yeah, you item lock and you dust snore, and you like kind of blow them up, and you can like fish them off with blood moon. It's I was gonna say it's cool. I know it's not that cool, but it's not too bad. And then we see this stack, which is it's I guess it's a Mega Absol box, so it plays the new Meowscarada EX. How do we even find this? I guess I gotta go back to Limitless. Hopefully that's working now. It's not working great. We'll see if that loads. I don't believe it's here. Yeah, I don't think it's on Pokemon Proxies. This card is actually not in it's not in Storm Emeralda. It is in it will be in Delta Rain though. Let me see if I can find it here. But long story short, it's a card that is going to be doing some, I guess I'll say like spread damage is what you're doing there. You're doing, here we go, it does 120 to your opponent's benched with damage counts on it, 120 to their active. It's kind of like Dragapult, I guess. Not really. It's, if you squint, it's kind of like Dragapult, is what I guess I'll say. And then you pair it with this stuff. I don't know. Like, it plays Crispin, which seems kind of weird. I guess you pair it with Monkey Dory, which is all right. But you need damage counts on yourself first as well. Then you need to like get the energy as well. Honestly, not a super good card really at all, unfortunately. If we saw it with the old Meowscarada EX, maybe it could have been a bit more interesting. But obviously, you know, we don't have that. So, it's not good. Does it have potential? Not realistically, no, unfortunately. It's not like a super horrendous card though, and it's kind of fun to think about. This deck really feels like it's not leaning into it that much, to be honest, either. And then we have this, oh no, not this one. This one's Mega Dragonite with Komodo. It's running a Rangeable as well. Rangeable actually has the same energy cost types or energy colors as what is it? As Komodo. That's it, yeah. So that's interesting to see there. Is it, you know, good? No, but it's cool. And then we have this last deck here, Mega Frostlass with single parts Frostlass and Monkey Dory doing those things. Then we also see the legendary Tranquil. Or sorry, we see the P-Dove. The P-Dove, which searches for Unfezant. It runs Tranquil, but you're skipping that. P-Dove with the ability Emergency Evolution. With Dangerous Wounds, then you're able to essentially just turn one, as soon as you play it, you search for an Unfezant and evolve it. Or Unfezant EX, of course. If you don't know, Unfezant EX doesn't exist. Why does it say this? I don't know. People have been talking about it for so long. Pokemon's done this a bit recently, and it's very bizarre, like referencing these cards that don't exist. In some ways, they're playing it safe, but one, I feel like they kind of know what they're doing going into the future. And two, I mean, like, I don't know. It feels so weird. Anyways, so you got this P-Dove here, though it does let you evolve instantly, and you do have these Unfezants. And you got a couple in standard. They're not super good, right? But there's this one from Black Bolt. It does. It can draw some cards, but it can also like be immune half the time, which is a thing. And then you have this other one, which can. This one's I think a little better, getting rid of some energies. Second attack is. I don't know if it's better or worse than the other Unfezant second attack, but definitely an interesting card here to some extent. I don't know if it's a really good card at all. But actually, it is the other one with the coin flips is interesting with a new card, Retry Badge as well, letting you reflip the coin flips here, which is pretty interesting there. I don't actually know whether this deck plays Kofu. That feels really weird. I was gonna say like maybe if you're looking for some more spores on top of Lilies, Kofu's worth trying, I suppose, but like it doesn't even play 4 Lilies, so that feels kind of weird. Yeah, it's playing stage. Well, let's just talk about like Rare Candy or something, but you don't even need Rare Candy, so not sure why Kofu's in the deck, if anyone knows. I guess tell me. It's not like the worst card around, but it's definitely not the best either. Not 100% sure why this is paired with Frostlass, Mega Frostlass, and Monkey Dory there. Certainly they're fine, but it doesn't seem to be an obvious pairing. Yeah, I guess tell me that in the comment section if you know why. But definitely a fun little set of Pokemon here and like pairing and stuff. But tell me your thoughts on these in the comment section. And also huge shout out to my YouTube members as well, because that really does legitimately help support my channel, and I really appreciate it. And I will be updating this page. I update it once a month because memberships are monthly, and I believe there's free trials as well, though I could be wrong on that. YouTube said there were, and then I like looked, and then I couldn't find them. But yeah, also anyone who just likes and subscribes, that is completely free and legitimately means a ton as well, and I really do appreciate it. But I do hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.